What's going on, everyone? I'm Alcor. This is Tomorrow Never Comes. And today I wanted to highlight an example of how you would apply the 5 steps or the 5 items that you have to assess when looking at any crypto project. And full disclosure before I do start, I do have an investment in this project. I was actually it's more of an indirect investment with this project since I am part of the investment club headed by Brian Rose and London Real. Via them and London Real Ventures, I do have an investment here. So I just wanted to put that out there, make sure you guys know that. But this is a great example of what you may come across. Now, this could be something that's on CoinMarketCap or not. Maybe it's someone that, throws a project your way, or you hear about something and you don't really know what to do with it. Right? It may just be a website or you just may have some information. So how do you really kind of assess what's happening now in this space? Things move at the speed of light. So what you read today could very well change tomorrow. So definitely keep that in mind. But I wanted to run through real quick. And here's the thing. What I'm going to do right now, it's really the preliminary work that you need to do before you dive in deep. Okay? So your first 7 to 10 minutes looking at something really should just give you an idea. Should I jump further into this project? That's it. You're not looking to bring out any, look over everything with a magnifying glass and kind of find everything wrong with it. But just kind of peruse through these 5 things and really see if something jumps out at you where you're like, no, it's not really my cup of tea. All right. And what were those 5 things that we mentioned? So in the previous video, I mentioned team was 1. Traction was 2, technology was 3, tokenomics was 4, and terms of use was 5. So those are the 5 things that you really want to dive into. And you want to dive into deeper even after the 10 minutes. If you're like, yeah, everything checks out, I want to go in, that's when you really start to go in deeper, okay? But just from the start here, and I actually even like to go one step before that, all right? So yeah, you get your 5 things, but is there something in the project that draws you? Now, if you are all about return on investment, maybe the business model works for you and you want to really, narrow in on the business model to see if that's something up your alley. Do you like art? Do you like gaming? Something has to draw you. And this is my opinion. And this is how I work. Something about the project itself has to draw me before I even look at those 5 items we discussed before. Okay. For me, Cross the Ages here is a sci-fi marries, fantasy. And I was, I hesitate to say was because I still am. But, since I was very young to even currently, that I will still read, dragon related books or fantasy books. So I'm really putting that out there. So any Dragonlance fans who are out there, shout out, leave some comments. And for the rest of you, don't judge me. It is what it is. I'm proud of it. I own it. So it's all good. So Cross the Ages is really marrying, some of the things that I found very compelling as a youth and growing up. So right away, it has my attention. So if you look here, and we're going to go through this real quick as if I didn't know anything about it, right? But right off the bat, it's saying there's 75 artists and over 145 people involved. I mean, right there, that's interesting. Now, you could look at it on the flip side and say, are they spread too thin? Maybe that doesn't appeal to you. But for me, 75 artists, I mean, that's great. So there should be some high detailed graphics involved with this. Okay. But if you go through it and they'll show you some of those graphics right out the gate here. Okay. So that's pretty cool. We got the rest of it going here. Okay. So it's got NFTs. So, hey, check mark for me. I'm very big into NFTs in the metaverse. So there you go. That's another plus. And so what's the story behind it? Okay, so Cross the Ages going forward, if I say CTA, that just means Cross the Ages. So it's a dynamic universe where fantasy and science fiction come together and clash. Okay, got my attention. The 2 worlds share a single continent, and to the west lies one, which is masters of magic and summoning, and to the east there's the other continent, which is home for something called neurotechs, which are basically people who have superpowered AI and they've kind of merged technology with human beings. Okay, and then it just goes through the story of who we're kind of looking at, who may possibly may be the main character here. It's a young Malka surrounded by her 7 Primus, reigns from the capital Babylonia. So all this stuff, this is up my alley, right? Like I said, I was an avid Dragon book reader, so all of this story play really, it really grabs my attention because this is what draws you into a completely different world. So we've got, super AI beings clashing with magic wielding human beings. Okay, so epic dark fantasy world, that's one continent. The other world, we've already gone over this. And then in between both worlds, there is another world that's kind of, it really is just in between. It's not really one side or the other, sits in between, and it's got its own inhabitants as well. Okay, so all this kind of stuff. Like, just look at the graphics here. I mean, very, very clean graphics. Okay, very high quality. I love the story. It works for me. It works for my imagination. So, that all works. So that's even before I look at the 5 things. What is it that appeals to me? Right now, they could always put anything out there, but there's got to be something, right? If you're a big sports guy or woman, then maybe this isn't for you because it's not sports related. Look, I said dragons. There's a dragon right there. They know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so something has to jump out and appeal to you. So now, what's the next thing? Is the team, right? All right, so let's go to the team. And what do we see in our team? So we've got a core team. And look, right out the gate, we've got, not only do we have names, full names, but we've got pictures behind those names. What a concept, okay? So it goes here. We have a core team. We have, look at all the artists. We have writers. We've got gaming and blockchain developers. We've got community-led, they call them team investigators. So I guess they do some kind of riddles on social media, and whoever solved the riddles, they jump on here. I'm not too sure what that is, but hey, some different wrinkles into this team. Okay, so let's go back to the main team here. So we got a bunch of teams. Okay, great. There's a whole bunch of people here. Well, here's the CEO. Can I click on him? Can I see something about him? Okay, great. So we know he's from France. Now we can link to his social, right? So what's on his Twitter? Is he actively engaged? Does he have any followers? Okay, he's got 11,000 followers. He's putting out there, again, his face. He's a CEO. Okay, great. And is he active? February 13th. Yeah, okay, so we got March 18th here showing some. Again, March 15th. March 14th. Sharing everything good. And he's actively engaged. Perfect. That's what we want to see. Now, that's for him. What about Cross the Ages itself? Are they... Okay. So there we go. So they're linking that back to their website. We don't need to see that. Okay. All right. So he's actively engaged. That is good. Well, I do recall that Cross the Ages. Yeah, there we go. So Cross the Ages. Okay. They have their own, the company Twitter handle as well, or account. And so let's see here. What is this? A new free to play metaverse game. Collect your digital trading cards and own NFTs. Oh, okay. Great. Look at their following. Almost 66,000 followers. That is a great sign. We're building a massive community. It's great to see. Are they actively engaged? Good. Okay, so we got a lot of tweets going on here. We got a lot of likes. 101 likes, 129. Okay, people are engaged. Great. So that checks a box for me, right? So let's go back to him, the CEO, Sammy, as well. Let's see on his LinkedIn profile. Okay, there you go. Same image, which is always good. CEO, Cross the Ages, great. And we can kind of go through. Is he a founder of other things? What has he done? Okay, bunch of stuff. Great. So just a cursory look. Actively engaged, both himself, the CEO, as well as the company. Putting his face up there for everybody to see, putting a real name, and you're able to go down the rabbit hole and kind of dig in deep on him as well as the company. Great. that checks out. So that's a portion of the team. Now, what can also happen with the team, you can do that for every single member. What can also happen, and of course the internet's not going to comply. So team also means, are there any partners? Are there any other investors? Who else is involved in this? Are those members actively engaged? So that can be a little bit more digging, but if we kind of scroll down, great, we're going to see some partners. Okay, Sandbox, massive, right? Number 2 metaverse player in the entire market. Awesome to see. Swissborg Ventures, as part of Swissborg, which is an exchange, so another big player. And we can kind of just see, are there any partners that else we recognize, all that kind of stuff. Good. So check there. So what's the next one, right? We look at traction. And so traction kind of feeds into what I was saying about Twitter. Are they engaged? Are other people engaged with them? And you can kind of get in a little bit deeper to see, are there any specific individuals who are commenting on their threads or being engaged? So that's a little bit more of a, digging a little bit deep. But we did a cursory exam. We saw almost 66,000 members on their Twitter. We can check their Discord and just see, is the community there? Is it building? How active are they? Okay, perfect. Now, technology. Technology is a little bit different here because we can't actually play the game, right? It has not launched yet. So we don't know, right? And that's an unknown. Will the game look entirely like this? Is it just kind of an enticing demo, but everything else doesn't match up? It's possible. You never know, right? But what I will say from knowing before is that Sammy was has been heavily involved in gaming, and has had several games that have been released on platforms, like Nintendo and Xbox and things like that. So his gaming background is heavy, okay? And so, but look, you want to see something even like faster than just going tab to tab to tab, is you can just get to the white paper. And this will just really break everything down for you. What is it? We talked about it's like magical world versus cyborg type world. Okay, so free to play and play to earn. And they have physical cards meeting NFTs, and fantasy meets sci-fi. So going through this, you can kind of see over 140 professionals. You get a nice quick gauge on what this actual project is without having to actually be on their website and kind of go through. You can see, how everything kind of plays out, what their business model is. Again, the technology part is something we just can only see. We can't actually experience until they launch. So that's always an unknown. And you can go through the team here. Look, and this is, again, Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, Android. All these are the platforms that Sammy has been produced more than 50 video games on different platforms such as those. And if you look down over here to the advisors, we've got the co-founder and CEO of the Sandbox, like I said, which is the second biggest metaverse company out there, or project out there. Okay, so great to see. And so again, tech is something that is kind of lagging in terms of what we can experience. But hey, if everything checks off in terms of like their graphics, beautiful, we're good to go. All right, so now what's the next one? Is tokenomics. So what does tokenomics mean? So with crypto related projects, or they're not all of them, but they can actually come out with native tokens to the game itself. In this case, the game or the project. And so you want to treat it like you would if you looked at Avalanche or Bitcoin or Ethereum. Like, what's the max supply? What's the circulating supply? What's the total supply that can come out? How have the tokens been distributed amongst the team, right? The marketing team, the advisors, the founders. How much is left for the community in terms of rewards and reserves? Like, all these things kind of play in. So let's kind of jump real quick into this, right? So fundraising, 25% of the tokens are allocated to fundraising. Good. It gives you a breakdown of, is it private, seed investors, is it community, meaning, before it's actually launched to community members, how much can they get? And then once it actually gets launched, what's going to be allocated for that public community? Okay, good. Now we're breaking down some long-term rewards. Marketing is 7%, development 5%, reserve, advisors. Okay, reserve is a good one. It's kind of like, you have some left over to do rewards for the community, and you may use them for other things. It's kind of like having a cash balance for public companies. Okay, so some advisors, some graphics teams. Now here's where you can have red flags, and Cross the Ages does not have that. But you want to look at the founding team, and you want to see how much of that token supply the founding team has. So we're looking at 12%. Not that big of a number. Now, if it was 90%, 80%, 70%, there could be some, cause for concern there, because once the project launches, what are the chances that the founding team does not sell a portion of what they have? And if they have a large amount, that portion is going to dilute everything and drop the price down, right? And so you always have to be careful with that. So hey, look, like I said, that's not a problem with Cross the Ages. They give you a nice little pie chart, kind of breaks everything down so you can see it. And then what they have here is also very interesting in terms of, a lockup period and how long it takes for, the team to, whatever section it is to get their total supply of tokens. So if the founding team is 12%, let's just say it's the core team, it would take 4 years for a person within the founding team to accumulate all of their share of the tokens. Okay, so 4 years. So they don't just get it all in one shot. All right. Also, it's locked up for 18 months once it has launched. So you're not going to get a flood of the market of these founding members dropping all their tokens as soon as it launches. They have to wait 18 months. So good to see. All of that is great to see. That's what you want in any project. You want the founding team to be in it for the long term. You want to see 4 years or several years. You want to see a lockup period. All those things matter. All right. And then terms of use, really you're just kind of looking at anything jump out at you. Are they making claims? Are there certain situations or certain things that just don't seem right when it comes to other things that you have compared, right? So they kind of talk about, hey, there could be changes to the platform. The regulatory framework is not set in stone, so things may happen. It's really telling you what your risks are, okay, going forward. And that's something you got to look at and to see if anything pops out for you. So, look, it's 17 minutes for me to go through this and kind of explain everything. But really, you could have done just very, very fast. Okay, very fast analysis. Do you like the project? Does something entice you about it? Who's on the team? Is there a real face? Is there a name behind it? Can I access information about whoever is mentioned in the team? Is there a community built around this project? Are the founding members or someone from the team and the project itself? Is it active? Is there a community around it? Excuse me. Is there a community around it? So that's the traction portion of it. And technology, can you play around with what is there an MVP, a minimum viable product? Can you at least look on like here on a website and see what is the potential for the graphics? Yeah, you can do that. Can't play with it, but at least you can see the potential. Tokenomics, how are things kind of divvied up, right? How much is the max supply versus the circulating supply? What do the founding team have? Are there any red flags? Is there a possibility of tokens being dumped as soon as the project launches? And then terms of use, are there any risk factors in there that would surprise you or or you're not comfortable with? So you just go bang, 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 kind of jump through really quick, and then say, hey, you know what? I got a good feel for this. Maybe I'll go in deeper, right? Or you pick 3 out of those 5 things to look at, right? You look at team, you look at traction, you look at technology. And if those 3 line up, then you dig into the other 2. So there's all these things you can do, and you should definitely do at least 3 of the 5 as a quick cursory glance, all right? And then decide to jump in deeper. So I'll say this. One of the things that I like about Cross the Ages the most is how they actually combine NFTs and what they call NFCs, which are non-fungible cards. So they've actually combined having a digital card and a physical card. And the way they do that and how they kind of integrate the two, it's actually quite fascinating. And they also have a book, actually. So if you look here, they have a book, and they're going to release 7 books in 7 years. And there's just layer after layer that's added to this project. And so it's quite fascinating. I highly recommend any of you kind of look into it and check it out. But again, this is not me saying you need to be in this. It's not financial advice. I'm not telling you that this is a great project that's going to get you X ROI or anything like that. It's something that fascinates me. I'm in it. And I thought this was a good way to kind of break down those 5 steps, or 5 crucial buckets you need to look at before you decide to jump into a project. So guys, hopefully that helped. Like the video if it did help you. Leave comments either way. I would love to get some feedback and see what works or doesn't work for you. Subscribe, share, and obviously hit the notification bell. Remember, tomorrow never comes. Jump in the game, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.